Hey friends, welcome back in my YouTube channel. Once again, I welcome you all in my YouTube channel. So let's start about the epilepsy mechanism. As you understood very well about the epilepsy and its type, what is the definition of the epilepsy, what are the types of the epilepsy. So let's start about the mechanism of epilepsy. So this video is going to be headed for the only the mechanism of epilepsy. In the next part, I'll be making the ADRs and the mechanism of anti-epileptic drugs, etc. Friends, as we know that brain normally functions as the electrical imbalances or disturbances are not there, but normally in fact the electrical activity in the brain and between the neuron communication cell is normal, like the all the neurotransmitters works very in a proper manner and all the electrical balances are there, like the communication between the two neurons are happens in a very good manner. Like suppose there is a message which is going to be conducted from this part of the body, it means the brain is working very properly and electrical impulses are coming to this part of the body in a proper manner. But in the epileptic condition, this doesn't happen by any way. Friends, as we know, if I say about the structure of the neuron cell, it means it contains the cyton, axon terminals, synapses and dendrites. So the main thing is the synapse in which and by which through which the electrical impulse goes through the brain to the entire body. It means there is a problem in the synapse leads the epilepsy definitely, because the electrical imbalances will be there. So that's why patient may feel epilepsy. So that's a kind of mechanism of epilepsy in a simple language. But if I say about the communication between the two neuron cells, it means the synapse cells transferring the electrical activity between the two neurons in a very proper manner. Otherwise, the epilepsy will occur definitely. Now talk about the neurotransmitters. What are the responsibilities of the neurotransmitters in the epilepsy specifically? It means suppose neurotransmitters are divided into the two parts basically and mainly, that is the excitatory neurotransmitter and the inhibitory neurotransmitter. But the balance of these both neurotransmitters are very much important. Once the disbalance between the neurotransmitters, that is excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters, once the imbalance is there, it means the patient feel epilepsy. And one more thing, that is about the neuron cell. Definitely neuron cell is a kind of cell like the other cells, but it's a slightly different between the neuron cell and others one. If I say some common factors are there, like some receptors and some channels are also there on this neuron cell also. So some ion change and ion channels are also responsible for the epilepsy, as you saw and watched in the previous video. So if I talk about the ion channels, along with the some receptors are also there which are present on and available on present on the neuron cell. So like the other cells, these factors and these organelles of the cell also contains, and these factors also contains the neuron cell. It means the receptors will be there and ion channels will be there and neurotransmitters will be there. In the imbalances between these factors leads the epilepsy definitely. Why I am talking about the receptors and ion channels and the receptor and neurotransmitters? Because neurotransmitters always modulates the synaptic transmissions, while if I talk about the receptor always influence the receptors and the synaptic transmissions. And along with this, we can say that some ion channels, receptors and neurotransmitters are responsible, and they play a very vital and key role in the epilepsy in fact. And being a neuro scholar, you must be known about the sodium ion and calcium ion channels. So just these are the common things, just I am sharing with you. But in the repolarization cell and depolarization of the cell, that chloride ion mean to say the positive ion, negative ion are very much responsible for the neurotransmissions as well as the for action potentials. Yeah, dear Siddharth, you must have heard about the action potential, in which the repolarization of the cell of the neuron cell I am talking about, remember, and the depolarization of the cell occurs due to the imbalances or balances factors of the sodium ion channel and chloride ion channel. Mean to say, once the chloride ion goes into the cell, it means the repolarization of the cell will be there, and the sodium ion channel, that is the positive in the charge, will be entering in the cell. It means the depolarization of the cell will be there. If I talk about the ion channels hyperactivity, mean to say, we can say the hyperexcitability of the neuron. It means sodium ion influx and there is a decrease in the potassium ion. But in epilepsy, what happens? Sometimes hypersynchronization between the ion channel leads to the enhanced synaptic transmissions. Sometimes abnormal neuron firing disrupts the chloride ion channel and it functions altered, and GABAergic function of the GABA neurotransmitter also altered. That's why this we can say epilepsy happens. Overall, these were the ion channels which are responsible for the mean to say the epilepsy. Now talk about the neurotransmitters. That what are the neurotransmitters? Why these epilepsy? Why are the causes by the? What are the causes by the neurotransmitter happens in the brain due to the epilepsy problem? So just to talk about the neurotransmitters in further. Friends, just I talked about the neurotransmitters. Means neurotransmitters are the chemical releases in the brain and found in the vesicles. You can see in the picture, and the balance between the excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters are much important, and they are responsible for the movement of your body, thinking of the ideas, speaking, whatever you are doing in your body. It is regulated by the brain only, and brain is totally dependent on the neurotransmitters. Either you are doing the motor activity or sensory activity, all the things are fully dependent on the neurotransmitters. Now talk about the further disturbances. What are the neurotransmitters responsible for in the epilepsy specifically? So let's start about the neurotransmitters. Friends, you must understood that the balance between the excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitter is very much important. So that's why epilepsy will not be happen. Once the imbalance between these neurotransmitters, epilepsy leads to the cause. So let's see some examples of the neurotransmitters. So if I talk about the excitatory neurotransmitter, that is glutamate first, which is responsible for primary excitation of the neurotransmitter. GABA, it's a kind of inhibitory and primary neurotransmission involved in the neurotransmission, that is called GABA. If I say about the norepinephrine, that is responsible for the arouse and stress disorders, and sometimes it very common, that is excitatory in nature. One must you have heard about the serotonin, that is responsible for the mood, sometimes attentions, happiness, sadness. So these are the factors which are totally dependent on the serotonin chemical, that is neurotransmitters. Next one is the dopamine, that is responsible for the motivations, and dopamine also regulates the movements in your body. You must have heard about the another one, that is the acetylcholine, responsible for the muscle contractions and movement, attention, memory, etc. Friends, these were the neurotransmitters which are responsible for the epilepsy, and their mechanism, that is the different dependent on their excitatory or inhibitory in nature. So let's talk about the receptors. Receptors are also same as neurotransmitters, because receptors are also in excitatory in nature and inhibitory in nature. So let's talk about the receptors, by which and what are the reasons that receptors are also responsible for the epilepsy. So just let's talk about. So friends, if I talk about the receptor, that is primary, that is GABA receptor, that is inhibitory in nature, and excitatory in nature, that is AMPA receptor, NMDA receptor, and these receptors, as I earlier told you, that these receptors are also present on the neuron cell. Friends, one receptor is also very much common, that is SB2A receptor, that is mean to say synaptic vesicle 2A type receptor is there, which is much responsible, mean to say SB2A receptor is responsible for movement of the vesicles towards the presynapse, and that fires and goes attaches with the postsynapse. You can see in the picture, and this is much responsible receptor for the epilepsy. Sometimes we block by giving the drug that is called levetiracetam. Once you understood this receptor, you will be understanding all the receptors by which we can understand that what is the proper mechanism of epilepsy and anti-epileptic drugs. So friends, in this video I think the mechanism of action you have cleared in your mind. If any obstacles, any problems you are facing to understand the proper mechanism of epilepsy, I'll be telling you in the next video. But for now, just I would like to take a full stop for this video. In the next video, I'll be telling you all the medications regarding the epilepsy, as what are the anti-epileptic drugs mechanism of actions, and what are the adverse drug reactions of the medicines, and what are the preference of the medicines in the different kind of the seizure. Like you must have known about the focal seizure, generalized seizure, and epileptic spasm. Whatever you have learned in my previous videos, just I'll be coming with you and coming to you all the videos regarding the medications and mechanism, etc. So bye for now in this video, and meet you soon in the next video. So thank you, and be subscribed, and thank you.